Hey there folks, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to part 4 of my 2017 Halloween marathon on Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Now, if you follow me on this, then I guess some of you folks might know that way back on September 13th, 2013, I started my blog show by talking about some of the films that came from the original Friday the 13th franchise. And while several folks out there say that they are horror classics, I can definitely agree with them. Also, they can be pretty thrilling, scary, and of course, crazy. However, let me give you a little history lesson about the killer featured in the Friday films, Jason Voorhees. Now, legend has it that Jason was a deformed boy who drowned at Camp Crystal Lake back in 1957 when he was 11 years old. Years later, after the camp reopened, his mom, Pamela, who blamed the counselors for not paying attention, went on a rampage, killing every single new counselor until a girl named Alice is the only character left. But Alice stops Pamela by decapitating her with a machete. Not too long after, an adult Jason returns from his supposed death, and his main goal is to avenge his mother's death by killing anyone who dares to return to the camp. Now, like Freddy Krueger from the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, I was first introduced to Jason from a little video production project at school back in 2007. Also, I'm surprised that Disney would let one of their famous characters dress up like Jason in a Halloween cartoon. Also to note, this blog is going to be a reboot to not only my first episode, but it's also a reboot to the original Friday movies. And why am I doing this? Well, mostly it's because I want to do a full blog on this movie. So let's get started. Released on February 13th, 2009, the movie is Friday the 13th, 2009. So, let's get started. Against the advice of locals and police, Clay scours the eerie woods surrounding Crystal Lake for his missing sister. But the rotting cabins of an abandoned summer camp are not the only things he finds. Hockey mask killer Jason Voorhees lies in wait for a chance to use his razor-sharp machete on Clay and a group of college students who have come to the forest to party. So, what are my thoughts on this movie? Well, while most say that this movie sucks, in my opinion, it's good, but it could have been a heck of a lot better. But let me explain in my Mustang notes. The movie was written by Damian Shannon and Mark Swift, and directed by Marcus Nispel. Nispel also directed the 2003 remake of Tobe Hooper's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974. While Shannon and Swift had written the screenplay for the 2003 crossover movie Freddy vs. Jason. The 2009 film was originally conceived as an origin story, but the project evolved into a reimagining of the first 4 Friday the 13th films. The character Jason Voorhees was redesigned as a lean, quick killer with a backstory that allows the viewer to feel a little sympathy for him. But not enough that he would lose his menace. In keeping with the tone of the film, Jason's mask was recreated from a mold of the original mask used for Part 3, though there were subtle changes. Friday the 13th includes some of Harry Manfredini's musical score from the previous Friday movies, because the producers recognized its iconic status. The producers used Asylum visual effects to create the digital effects for the movie. Although director Marcus Nispel is a proponent of practical effects, Asylum had to digitally create some shots to protect the actors and to allow the director to achieve a specific look. Visual effects supervisor Mitchell Drain assigned 10 crew members to work on the visual effects. They first analyzed the script in pre-production to decide which shots would be needed for digital effects. Asylum worked on 25 shots for the movie. Principal photography began on April 21, 2008 in Austin, Texas, and finished on June 13, 2008. So, what do I think of this version of Camp Crystal Lake? Well, to me, the lake and campground reminds me of the camps that I've been to during my scout age. But at night, it looks really spooky, and the cabins look like wrecks. Plus, the scenes in the woods can give me the chills. Also, in my opinion, the story has an interesting plot, though it can be a tad cliched. But I don't think it was used for a Friday movie before. But there are some parts of the movie that are really intense, disturbing, gory, and thrilling. But I can't describe all of them, otherwise we might be here all night. But I can say that most of them involve Jason and all the murders that he does throughout the movie. However, there are a few parts of the movie that I didn't really like too much. For example, there's a ton of cursing and adult language, there's sexual innuendos, as well as the use of alcohol and drugs. Plus, a lot of the characters are pretty much one-dimensional and very stupid. And mostly they just mess around before they get killed off. But anyway, let's move on to the cast of this movie now. Our main character, Clay Miller, is played by Jared Padalecki. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Who has been in films like Cheaper by the Dozen, House of Wax, and The Christmas Cottage. I really like him due to the fact that he's concerned about finding his sister by posting and handing out flyers. I also think Clay's motorcycle is pretty hardcore. What's more, I think Clay is very brave when he investigates Camp Crystal Lake in hopes to find clues about what happened to his sister. Clay's sister Whitney is played by Amanda Rigetti, best known from Return to House on Haunted Hill and Captain America: The First Avenger. Before Whitney was captured by Jason, she and Clay got into a bit of a fight, which led them to not speak to each other for a while. She even got to take care of their ailing mother. In my opinion, I think it must have been frightening for Whitney to be held hostage for 6 weeks. But she becomes relieved when she finds posters in her brother's backpack, realizing that Clay is looking for her. Also, I think she's really smart when she frees herself for the first time, and she was really brave when she seemingly kills Jason with his own machete. Next we have Jenna, played by Danielle Panabaker, whom I know from films like Sky High, Yours, Mine, and Ours, Home of the Giants, and Piranha Double D. Now, since this is my first time talking about her on my show, I need to say that Danielle reminds me of one of my high school friends. And, in my opinion, Danielle is one of the many female actors who makes the most sense in whatever role she's cast in. And this role is no different. The thing that I like about Jenna is that after Clay comes to the cabin where she and her friends are, she decides to accompany Clay where he searches Camp Crystal Lake for Whitney. We also have Jenna's boyfriend, Trent, played by Travis Van Winkle, who did have an appearance in the first Transformers movie. No surprise, since this movie is produced by Michael Bay. Anyway, in my opinion, Trent is one character who I really despise in this film, due to the fact that he is a snobbish rich kid who loves to show off his wealth. In the movie, Trent invites Jenna and 5 other friends to stay at his parents' cabin near Camp Crystal Lake, where he and his entire group would later be completely slaughtered by Jason. His goal for the weekend is to hook up with Jenna. However, the things that I really hate about Trent is when he gets into a fight with Clay and cheats on Jenna by having sex with Bree. But I'm glad that Trent gets his comeuppance when Jason stabs him through the back and throws him on the back of a moving truck. Next, we have our star killer, Jason Voorhees, played by stuntman Derek Mears, who has been in Zathura, The Hatchet 3, and of course, 2 of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And to be honest, Jason is the best character in the whole movie. Plus, Derek does awesome at playing Jason. I mean, I know we should hate him for being a homicidal, but to me, Jason is one of the few villains I feel sorry for, due to him drowning when he was a boy, and witnessing his mother's death. Also, I think Jason is very ferocious when he attacks, and not only does he use his machete to kill, but he also uses bear traps, a campfire, a towel rack, a screwdriver, a fireplace poker, a hatchet, and a bow and arrow. He has also set up ropes with little bells all over the camp, which can alert him when someone has crossed into his territory. I also think Jason's underground lair is very creepy. Plus, the sack and hockey mask that he wears makes him look really badass. And the sound that we hear whenever Jason's around is very mysterious. Also, the reason why Jason holds Whitney hostage is because he thinks that she resembles his mother. The rest of the cast includes Juliana Gould as Bree, Aaron Yu as Chewie, Ryan Hansen as Nolan, Arlene S. Carpetta as Lawrence, and Willa Ford as Chelsea. And now let's move on to my final words. Overall, Friday the 13th, 2009 is an okay movie to watch, but it's not perfect though. While the story is interesting and several aspects are very creepy, thrilling, and gory, the thing that can make this film go a tad downhill is the use of drugs, alcohol, and sexual innuendos. But maybe that's just how I see it. And another thing, while some of the main characters like Clay, Whitney, and Jenna are tolerable, the rest of the characters, including Trent, are pretty stupid. But the best character overall is Jason Voorhees. I mean, he's the reason why we watch the Friday franchise. And his kills can be pretty creative, disturbing, and freaking awesome. So, if you folks are a die-hard fan of the Friday the 13th franchise, or a horror movie fan, then I guess you wouldn't mind watching this movie out of curiosity. But I cannot recommend this movie for everybody, including folks who are under the age of 17. So, my rating for this movie will be a 64% out of 100. Well, that's all for tonight, viewers. Be sure to join me again next time. Mustang Power!
Mm-hmm.